There isn't much that needs to be said about Shadow Eliminators. It wasn't very good. I've done 2 other videos on this manga. The first went into great detail on how the series started off shaky and had too much in common with other shonen urban exorcist series of past and present. My second vid highlighted the shortcomings of the mangaka and pinpointed areas of concern in regards to their writing ability, approach to set and character design, and lack of awareness for what their peers are doing. This video won't be so negative. Well, I don't know, maybe it will be. Shadow Eliminators didn't fail because the author wasn't ready. It failed because Kento Amemiya, much like many other young creatives, lacks business acumen. Shadow Eliminators ran for 19 chapters and was published in Weekly Shonen Jump, a magazine notorious for its cutthroat serialization practices and an archaic understanding of how to cultivate young talent. Deloitte probably has better culture than Shueisha in 2024, but I'm not here today to subliminally plant dissent on behalf of friends. Today, I want to focus mostly on the positives of this recently cancelled manga. The 2 main leads in the story, Yayoi Asakaze and Aoba Kuromori, were not interesting leads. Not only were their designs very tropey, but there was just nothing interesting to them. Yeah, 12.5 chapters isn't a lot to build up your cast, but within the first 5 to 10 chapters, there should have been something. Anything for fans to want to hold on to. As much shit as I talk about other battle shonen, you look at Gachi Akata, and there were a number of characters in the first 10 chapters that fans would hold on to. Characters that you actually want to root for, where you want to see them grow, you want to see what the mangaka has in store for them next. If you don't have an energetic cast, it's going to be very hard for you to sell to a group of energetic readers. Kids need to see that. They need to see some form of excitement and uniqueness with their leading characters. Yayoi being bitch-made was whatever, but the fact that he remained bitch-made made him a character that was kinda useless. I liked his ability, the folding houses or the charming houses, whatever. It had a stupid fucking name, but it looked cool. That's something that I really wish they leaned into more. The mangaka basically had 1 chapter where they focused on Yayoi's ability, and then they moved the focus back to Aoba. Obaba, the grandmother who looks like she's young, I'm fucking tired of that trope too. She wasn't that interesting of a character at all. I think it was a bad move to even introduce her into the story this soon. The only real redeeming character in this manga, in my opinion, was Togami. I think she's an incredibly well-designed character. She should have been one of the main leads, to be honest. I've spoken about female characters in shonens and why I'm not necessarily against sexualizing them. I've been wanting to make a video about this topic so I can justify my misogyny towards fictional female characters. And maybe I will someday. For now, let's focus on the baddie Togami. Everything about her is A1 design. She's powerful, but not overly confident, agile, cultish, and quirky. Everything that a best girl needs. Togami and Nagito should have been introduced much sooner, and quite frankly, I would have loved to have seen her be the female lead of this series. The very fact that she wears miniskirts and doesn't wear panties makes me wonder why the author didn't just push her especially hard from her introduction. The Shonen Jump audience loves the vaporware trope. Typical shonen readers don't know what discharge is, or menstruation cycles, or anything that has to do with IRL women. So they would be able to look past her not wearing panties, but always looking sexy while still being competent in battle. Togami could have easily given this manga some legs. Aside from yet another thought that got thrown to the wayside, the action scenes were pretty boring. Some of the abilities were fine, and the art, while it wasn't super engaging, it wasn't offending at all. I expected more kinetic energy from the action scenes. This is a battle shonen. You need to be drawing and scripting this manga as if it's a storyboard. Jujutsu Kaisen does that very well. I don't know what the fuck is going on in any of the battles of JJK, but what I do know is that everything looks really fucking cool, and I can visualize how it will look when it's adapted. That's just how modern shonen manga is. You need to look at your series as if it's a storyboard for something that is going to be adapted. This isn't even a new trend. We saw this happen with late stage Naruto and Bleach. We see this happening with One Piece right now. Every new series coming out, whether they're successful or not, they all look like they're trying to be adapted into an anime. Very rarely do you see mangaka take advantage of the medium of manga, but when you want something that's successful and when you want something that's going to live in Shonen Jump magazine, you need to think about the future. How will this battle look if it's animated? Is there a certain scene or a certain page that can be memed or spread all over social media? Will people on Reddit talk about this ability? Are there theories about certain weapons? Is it possible I can build a power scaling community behind some of these characters and the power system? All of these things you really need to think about, which brings me back to the whole business acumen point that I made at the top part of this video. You need to think about your future. You can't think about the present. Not when it comes to working for Shueisha. Is Amemiya talented? Yes, absolutely. I do think there are mangaka who will draw a very interesting, maybe even a very successful series at some point. What I notice about their ability is that they have a strong understanding of writing impactful single chapters, as seen in the Shadow Eliminators one-shot. They draw well, they understand anatomy and variation of character design. I can never really shit on their artwork. They just don't have a strong understanding for framing, and their overall writing ability is a bit weak due to a lack of original ideas. But I have no doubt that they'll come back with an even stronger work next time around. It's funny because I think the mangaka of Mama Yuyu would complement Amemiya really well. They understand framing, and while they do have a really strong art aesthetic, I think if they both teamed up and they shared writing and drawing duties, that you would have a very good manga. Shadow Eliminators and Mama Yuyu were two series that weren't very good. The sum of their parts didn't really amount to anything on their own, but together they could have been successful. Look, this needs to be said. I feel that a lot of young mangaka look at Weekly Shonen Jump and think it's this mecca of manga. They hyper-focus on the successful serializations and look fondly upon the publications of their youth. But what about all of the dead bodies leading up to the shrine? What about the many great stories and careers that were thrown into the gulag, all for the chase of the almighty dollar? Quickly cancelled manga has always been a thing, and I actually think that Jump is right for terminating series quickly in the physical magazine if they aren't pulling in numbers. But 19 chapters? That's way too little. And why another Exorcist manga to begin with? As I said in my other videos, JJK and News Exorcist are both in the magazine and both put up numbers. How many battle shonen are there currently in Weekly Shonen Jump? Hell, Kagurabachi is a new manga and there's only 30 chapters so far for that series, but it has mystical swords people edgelording each other every single week. How was Shadow Eliminators supposed to compete with a series like Kagurabachi? Not to mention all of the other battle shonen that have been in the magazine for literally hundreds of chapters. Shadow Eliminators had fucking, 8 other series to compete against? Jump needs to do something different because this throw everything at the wall, see what sticks method, it's not as effective as it once was. And all it does is compromise so many young people who are talented, who want to create something good, but are pressured to work in a work situation that is being project managed by people who haven't grown from the era that they gained their experience in. And that's a fucking shame.